It's time to celebrate the 4th of July. Stop biting my hand, Louie. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Hello, everyone. And today, this happened.
Bring out the crabs!
No,
Louis!
Yeah,
They bite.
Yeah, we no way.
Bring out the crabs. Look at those suckers. We grab crabs for 4th of July.
I don't know if you're supposed to say that you have a favorite war, but I do. My favorite war is the Revolutionary War. Because, I mean, it was such an awesome period in American history, you know. You've got the British, who are just this orderly group of people. They're rich, they have more power. And then you got this ragtag team of revolutionaries, you know, poor, disorderly. Doesn't look like they could possibly win, but they end up defeating the British, and America is founded, the Declaration of Independence, submarines, hot air balloons, the American flag, the list goes on and on. But anyways, when historians look back at this period, it's become almost a common practice that they go, well, maybe George Washington wasn't as great of a general as we thought he was, or Benjamin Franklin wasn't as great of an inventor. And I think one of the reasons why they tend to downplay these moments is because it keeps it intriguing. They want people to be interested. And so they get their few bucks, and America loses its heroes. But I am here on this July 4th to say that our revolutionaries, our founding fathers, were indeed great men, and I'm going to list the many reasons why. As you all know, I am a huge fan of George Washington, and in fact, he may be my favorite historical figure of all time. And there have been a lot of criticisms made against him, like his drinking, smoking, gambling, his temperament, and his cockiness. But I'm able to speak up in defense of all of these things. He did not believe in drinking, smoking, and gambling to the excess, and he actually ended up quitting smoking. As for his temperament, well, when you're ordering around a whole bunch of soldiers, you're going to have to know how to take charge, and that's not just for you, but also for them in order to keep them alive. And finally, as for the cockiness, well, he did take that title of Mr. President, but he was actually originally intended to have much more grandiose names than that. He chose a more simple title. And he was the president that decided not to become king, even though he probably could have been. Although that would have gone against everything the revolutionaries stood for. But still, I mean, he could have had a lot more power than he chose to have. He only chose to have 2 terms as president. So all in all, I think George Washington was not only a great hero for America, but he was just a superhero. He was just a cherry tree cutting superhero, just running around with his axe, saving the world. I'm going to be a bit more careful when defending Thomas Jefferson, because I realize that this is sort of a sensitive issue. But there have been a lot of complaints against Thomas Jefferson and his view on slaveries. And to be fair to his detractors, he did not free his slaves when he died. And as second president of the United States, he didn't often speak out against slavery. But also, in his defense, he was not for slavery. He did not believe it was right to own another human being. And as a lawyer, he defended many slaves. And as a slave owner, he was not cruel to his slaves. He very rarely whipped them, except in extreme cases. And I guess if you're asking me my own opinion, my thoughts were he just had a different political viewpoint to what we might think was right. I think in his mind, if you couldn't free all the slaves, there was no point in freeing a few of the slaves. So, honestly, I just think that Thomas Jefferson was a product of his time. But there is one other issue I'd like to discuss, and that is him and his relationship with Sally Hemings. Now, most historians now agree that Thomas Jefferson probably did have an affair with Sally Hemings. And there is 2 ways of looking at this, that he used her, or you could also look at it as sort of a sad story. Maybe he did feel something for Sally Hemings, but due to the fact that, you know, he was a part of his time, he wasn't allowed to make that into anything special. I mean, he didn't really treat her that badly. I mean, he never, like, threw her out or anything. So it's hard to say what happened during those times, and what would have happened if he had lived during our times. So I think that we just have to keep that in mind, that we really don't know all of the answers here. We don't know what would have happened between Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings if things had been different. It doesn't seem like there is anything that Benjamin Franklin couldn't do. He was one of the founding fathers of our country. He was a great inventor. He made the Benjamin stove, the lightning rod, bifocals, and he was also a great writer. He wrote for Poor Richard's Almanac, came up with many great sayings like "a penny saved is 2 pence." And one of the complaints historians have had recently is that Benjamin Franklin was a ladies' man. That's right, that was the absolute best they could come up with. That because he was good with ladies, I don't know, I guess that denounces him a little bit. And I know all of you are going to chuckle to yourself that Benjamin Franklin was a ladies' man, but what I ask is, so what? I mean, I'm as feminist as the next guy, but I don't see anything wrong with ladies liking Benjamin Franklin and Benjamin Franklin liking ladies, and for them to do what nature intends for them to do. I'm just saying, I don't think Benjamin Franklin should be blamed for that. And the only reason why I think that people have sort of denounced Benjamin Franklin for this is because the truth of the matter is Benjamin Franklin just has more game than you. I really think it's jealousy, honestly. Another complaint has been that Benjamin Franklin was a bore, and again, I don't really feel that's something that should make him less of a person in our eyes, that he was kind of boring. I mean, who cares? You know, that's just really nitpicking. Oh, another complaint was that he was a serial killer, but don't get me started on that. That was just dumb. Look, the truth of the matter is that historians are just trying to make a few extra bucks. And part of doing that is looking at the worst parts of someone's life instead of the better. Is this a good thing? Well, it does teach us that nobody is perfect. But although our founding fathers might not have been perfect, that doesn't necessarily mean they weren't heroes. They still fought for freedom, equality, all the things that all Americans try to be. So, this 4th of July, I ask you to not be so quick to judge the founding fathers on what they did wrong, and realize that anyone can make mistakes. And I bet if we looked back on those historians' life and looked and nitpicked at all the bad things they did and all the things they did wrong, we'd find out they weren't as good as they were pretending to be. And as always, think big, think differently. Ugh. Oh, doggy kisses. Okay.